Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the primary weapon, the Tigris Prime. Now in this weapon series, I take a weapon, I build it out, and I test that weapon on its own merits, meaning I don't mix it with any kind of external factors that would increase weapon performance. That would be things like Warframes using abilities, pets putting statuses on enemies, things like that. I just test the weapon, built out by itself, and I let the viewers make their own intelligent conclusions about adding those external things. So, we're going to be looking at the Tigris Prime today. It was suggested by the American Samurai. He actually suggested the Tigris, and he just said he wasn't, sure which one was, the best one. And, the Sancti and the Tigris Prime are very close to each other, and I actually have like a spreadsheet to kind of show the differences. I always try to pick the weapon that is the strongest version of a weapon. So if a weapon has multiple versions, I try to do research and pick the strongest version. This is a little bit closer, this one. It was very, very close, but I think that the Tigris Prime does beat it out. So let me bring up that sheet here. You ready, guys? Here we go. All right, this information was pulled right from the wiki. So this is the Tigris, and it's the Prime versus the Sancti. The Prime's total damage is going to be more. And that's going to be, when we get to multi-shot at the bottom, the Prime has more multi-shot, so it's because of the multi-shot. So the Prime is going to have more total damage. The Sancti is going to have better crit chance, so instead of 10% that the Prime has, it's going to have 15%. Granted, they're both garbage crit chances, and this is not a crit weapon, so, it's just unfortunate. The crit damage, the Prime wins out. By 2 times instead of 1.5. Again, it's not a crit weapon, so the crit chance and crit damage don't really matter. Status chance is next. The Sancti does have better status chance. It's 14% instead of the Prime's 11.25. But because the Prime has more multi-shot, those extra shots have more chance to do status too. So I think that is why the Prime kind of beats out the Sancti. It's just because of those 2 extra multi-shots. And that's the next thing here is multi-shot. So it's 8 instead of 6. The reload time on the Sancti is actually a little tiny bit better at 1.5. The accuracy on the Prime is better. And burst DPS is better on the Prime version. Again, probably because of that multi-shot. And when we talk about multi-shot, it's important to know that, you see 8 and 6. You're like, oh, it's only a 2 difference. But this is base multi-shot. This is not multi-shot that you get from mods. Base multi-shot is very important because that's what everything scales on. So yes, there's only a 2-shot difference between 8 and 6, but let's say you had a mod that gave you 100% more multi-shot. Well, that 8 now becomes a 16, and that 6 becomes a 12, and that's a 4-shot difference. And the more multi-shot you keep stacking, like mod-wise, the percentages, the bigger that gap gets. And so that's why base multi-shot, and base stats in general are very important because everything scales off of them. So I believe the Prime version is better, but the Sancti is really, really close. I think if you were to, and you're going to build him out the same way. So when I go over the build, if you like the Sancti, it's fine. You could build the Sancti the exact same way I'm going to build the Prime out. Now, something to note is that the Sancti is also going to have the Syndicate effect. And the Syndicate effect for the Sancti is going to have a corrosive explosion. It doesn't do very well. All of the Syndicate effects, explosions, don't do very well. So once every 30 seconds, about every 30-ish seconds, you'll be able to fill up your bar, your Syndicate bar from affinity gained. And when it's full, it's going to explode. It's going to do really piss poor damage. That's all of the Syndicates do really bad damage. And then it will give you an effect. So I believe the Sancti effect is it restores 25% of your health, and that's base health. It's not modded health. So even on a Naros, it's not really that much. And it gives you a 25% health buff for 30 seconds. And again, that's base health. So again, even on a Naros, it's not super, super impressive. But it is something extra that the Sancti gets that the Prime version doesn't. So, again, you pick whatever you think is best. I am going to do the Tigris Prime, though, because I think that the multi-shot just kind of ekes it out better. All right, we have the top commenter from the last video, Nostra Papas, and we have the first commenter of the last video, Z is for Zombie. All right, let's get into the Tigris here. So, primary shotgun, pretty cool looking little guy. Okay, unique things about the Tigris. The first thing, it's not necessarily unique, it's just one of its stats, is that it only has 2 shots in the magazine. So it's kind of like a double barrel shotgun-ish. And there's something to know. So if you just left click and let go, it's going to fire the 2 shots. So it fires 1 shot when you click, and it fires the other shot when you unclick. So if you want to fire this at 2 separate targets, make sure you click, hold it, switch targets, and then let go. It's a little bit janky. I usually just end up just clicking and shooting 2 shots at a time. But if you really want to try to maximize your fire, since you only get 2 shots, you can do that. You can click, hold it, and then unclick when you get a new target. Okay, so because of that, you're going to be reloading a crap load because it's 2 shots and then reload, 2 shots and then reload. So there's different things you can do. There's actually a way to even increase your magazine so you have 4 shots instead of 2. But we'll get to that here. Other interesting things, I mean, it has fall off. That's just normal for shotguns, is that they're going to do less damage the farther away a target is. There's ways to increase fall off damage, like with galvanized acceleration. Any kind of projectile speed buff will increase fall off damage. I think that's pretty much it for like the stat stuff. Let's bring up the special Tigris augment. You just type in Tigris combat reload. So, combat reload. If 5 pellets are headshots, increase reload speed by 120% for 3 seconds. It's actually pretty cool. So, on my Tigris, I'm going to be using primed tactical pump. It's 100% reload speed all the time. There's no conditionals to it. I don't have to, like, carefully get headshots or anything like that. But let's say you didn't have primed tactical pump and you still wanted a reload speed mod. I think combat reload is pretty good. You'd have to be a little bit careful about actually trying to get headshots, but there's so much multi-shot in this that even if you're not trying to get headshots, there's a good chance you're going to get headshots. So I think combat reload is pretty okay. If you have prime tactical pump, I think it's just more consistent. It's always up. You know, you don't have to worry about anything, but... All right, so that was the augment for the Tigris. The other thing to know about the Tigris is there is a mod that some people use for the Tigris. I'm not going to use it. It's called Chilling Reload. It works pretty decent on the Tigris. It probably is like a good candidate. Actually, I think in the picture there that he has the Tigris right there. In the picture, he's got the Tigris. So it's 60 cold and 40 reload speed. We are going to go with cold on our Tigris here, except we're going to go for 60 cold and 60 status chance. Now, reload speed is important on the Tigris, but at a certain point, when you have enough reload speed, mods like this are only decreasing your reload speed by like, 0.1 or 0.2. They're not really decreasing it by so much anymore because you already have so much reduction in reload speed. So I would rather have the 60 cold and 60 status over 40 more reload speed, 40% more reload speed. But it is an option. I mean, there's probably going to be people in the comments that are like, oh, why aren't you using Chill and Reload? So yeah, Chill and Reload is an option over Frigid Blast, but I'm not going to be using that option. I think that's it. I think I went over all the interesting things here. So I think we can finally get into the mods. Actually, no, you know what? Before we get into the mods, I did testing. Actually, I don't know why I forgot this. I did about an hour of testing this morning. So yeah, let me bring up my hour of testing I did on the Tigris here. Okay, here we go. Tigris Prime. Okay, kill counts for 5-minute runs. I checked a few different setups. So I checked Viral Electric first. That's the one in the middle. So I checked Viral Electric first, and it's because shotgun mods have the option to use a big old primed electric mod. So that adds a lot more like flat damage and electric, of course. So I was like, oh, that could be really strong. Then I also checked Viral Heat, and it's because like the Hunter munitions on this isn't going to be very good because you're not getting a lot of criticals. So you can't really do Viral Slash. It does have a high normal slash value, like you're going to get high natural slashes. But because you don't have any like, crit chance, crit multipliers, anything that like makes them a little bit stronger, they're going to be pretty pitiful. So, and you're going to get them regardless. Like even on Viral Heat, you're still going to get your natural slashes. So, I went with Viral Heat because I thought that could be a really good combo. It ended up doing the best by a very little bit, but And then I also wanted to check gas electric. Gas electric is typically only going to do well on weapons that are higher alpha damage. Now, shotguns are a little bit deceptive here. Let me go back to gameplay just so I can show you guys here. Shotguns are a little bit deceptive because you look at you look at this bottom number here and it says 31,253 and you're like, oh, that's so much alpha damage. But that's the damage, like you have to divide it up between 21.6 pellets coming out. So each individual shot is not super high alpha damage. Each individual shot is kind of low alpha damage. So that's why shotguns can be a little bit deceptive there. So let me go back to the thing here. But I wanted to check it out anyway because gas electric, it likes weapons that have higher alpha damage, but it also likes weapons that shoot a little bit faster. So they have to have good alpha damage and they have to shoot a little bit faster than super slow, because in that case you would use blast. If it's super, super slow, you'd use blast. So I wanted to test it. And in these tests, Viral Heat got 195, 175, and 163 kills in its 3 runs for a total of 533 kills. I don't know if I said that right, but you guys know what I mean. Viral Electric got 179, 159, and 189 for a total in its 3 runs of 527. And Gas Electric got 174, 142, 159 for a total in its 3 runs of 475. So all of these are very close. They're less than 100 kills apart from each other. And, you know, this is me doing testing myself with gameplay. So this is not like objective. There's a lot of subjectivity with this. I always tried to choose tile sets that had 2 or more entry points. I think they were almost always 2 entry points. There was a few runs where I had 3 entry points. I did this on Kuva Survival, which is important because I actually made a little bit of a mistake. Kuva Survival, enemies are resistant to heat. I always try to pick a map that there's no vulnerabilities or resistances to the things I'm testing. And I was a little bit too deep into my testing when I realized that. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm testing Viral Heat and I'm on Kuva Survival. That being said, Viral Heat did the best, even though enemies are technically, getting 50% less damage from heat sources. So that's one of the reasons why I think Viral Heat is actually the best one. So Viral Heat and Viral Electric, super close to each other. And if it wasn't for the fact that these enemies are actually resistant to heat, I'd be like, it probably doesn't matter what you put on. But on enemies that are resistant to heat, Viral Heat still did better than Viral Electric. And then Gas Electric. Gas Electric is an AoE heavy build. AoE heavy builds are kind of at the mercy of spawns. So there's a lot more variables that come into play. So for me to really want to use an AoE heavy build, it has to be beating the other stuff by hundreds of kills. And we see that Gas and Electric did not do that here. So it's a situational build that does not beat the consistent builds. So Gas and Electric is definitely not the option. And between Viral Heat and Viral Electric, I believe Viral Heat's going to be your better option because it did about the same, even though it should have did way worse because the enemies are resistant to heat. All right, let me stop running my mouth here. We'll go back to gameplay. And we'll show off the build here. Okay, so we're going to have Galvanized Hell for multi-shot. We're going to have Galvanized Savvy for status chance. And we're going to get a little bit more flat damage per unique status effect on the target. We're going to have Primed Point Blank for flat damage. Something, just in case people don't know, something about status builds, like pure status builds, not hybrid builds, but pure status builds. Flat damage is kind of important because on crit builds, like your total damage could say 100 at the end, but in gameplay it's doing like 10 million because of all the crit multipliers and different math equations that are happening. On status builds where there's no crit or like extremely low crit, like what you see is what you get. So you actually do kind of want flat damage. There is diminishing returns on flat damage, so this is probably your weakest mod. But you do still want flat damage. So if you got a Riven and you had flat damage on it, that's still pretty damn good on a status heavy build. Or pure status build, I should say. Okay. Primed Tactical Pump for reload speed. This is a 100% reload speed increase. So if we look here, our reload speed goes down to 0.8 seconds, so a little bit less than a second for a reload. Now, the other option over primed tactical pump is, where is it here? Is this what? Yeah, there we go. Primed ammo stock. So let me actually just put this over here, over primed tactical pump for a second. So look, primed tactical pump, the magazine is still only 2 shots, but you have a reload of 0.8. If I put primed ammo stock in this slot here, now we have 4 shots in our magazine. So our magazine becomes, 4 shots there, but our reload is now a little bit longer. So this is personal preference. Do you want your reload speed to like be close to instantaneous, but have, only 2 shots? Or do you want to have 4 shots in your magazine, but have a little bit longer of a reload? I like the really quick reload, but you guys might like primed ammo stock too. The important thing is that you don't use both. Don't get caught in the thing where you're using both of them, because then you're wasting mod slots for utility. It's okay to have one mod slot used for like a utility effect, but when you start using multiple mod slots for utility, that's when your build starts becoming weaker and weaker. Okay, so next slot here we have Vigilante Armaments. This is going to give us 60% multi-shot. And again, this is off of base values. So our base of 8 multi-shot, 60% of 8 is like 4 point something. So this is like 4 extra bullets. And if we have a total of 21, I mean, this is like 20% damage increase. This is pretty good. So Vigilante Armaments and Prime Point Blank are probably the weakest slots on the build. I would say Prime Point Blank is weaker than Vigilante Armaments. But if you had a Riven that had like crazy multi-shot on it, maybe you could replace Vigilante Armaments and then keep Prime Point Blank. But I don't know. Prime Point Blank might be the weakest out of the two there. It's close. It's close. If this wasn't a status build, if this was a crit build, I'd be like, yeah, get rid of this all day long. But because this is a status heavy build, like flat damage is kind of important. Okay, and then in the next 3 slots, we're going to be making the viral and heat. So we have the 60-60 toxin, the 60-60 cold, and the 60-60 heat. Now, the other option with these elements is to use the big old primed chilling grasp instead of frigid blast. And it's just because, like we just said, it's important for status heavy builds to actually have large like flat damage numbers. Just because they're not getting crazy like crit multipliers or anything. But this is going to limit the amount of heat procs you get. So this is going to basically ensure you always get 10 viral procs on almost everything you hit. And then you can basically view the heat procs as just extra procs that will strip armor. Heat has like limited armor stripping. It's not going to strip fully, but it will start stripping, like partial stripping, and you'll be able to do a little bit more damage. Whereas Frigid Blast is going to be a little bit more balanced. You're going to get a good amount of virals, probably not a full 10 stack on dudes before you kill them, but that's okay. And you're going to get a good amount of heats, probably enough to reach the full partial strip that heat can get. Again, heat can't fully strip by itself, but you'll reach its maximum partial strip. So I did testing on both of these. I went into the simulacrum. I pulled up a big old giant Exo Ghost Ag officer. And I actually did multiple runs of this. That way I could like get multiple numbers or multiple runs worth of data. And both of these, but with Frigid Blast and with Prime Chilling Grasp, were killing the Exo Ghost Ag officers when they had their full conditionals, like Galvanized Hell and Savvy and Merciless. When they had their full conditionals, they were killing the Exo Ghost Ag officers in 3 shots. Every single time. With Frigid Blast, it was 3 shots, and with Prime Chilling Grasp, it was 3 shots. So every single time, it was the exact same. So there was no really like definitive data that I had that one was better than the other. So kind of pick whatever you want. In the Exilus slot here, we're going to have the Galvanized Acceleration. This is going to increase our fall-off range. The fall-off on this weapon is pretty booty. Like, it starts at like 8 meters, I think, base, which is pretty crappy. I think the Sanctity version, that's another thing, the Sanctity version is a little bit better, and I'm pretty sure the Sanctity starts at 10, which is still crap. I mean, Sanctity is still crap fall-off, but it starts out a little bit more. So yeah, Galvanized Acceleration will push it out a little bit more. That way, you're not doing completely horrible damage to things at like medium-ish range. That being said, you shouldn't be shooting at medium range, but sometimes you'll just you know, passively be hitting things in the back with shots. In the Arcane slot, we're going to go with Primary Merciless. Now, if you watch my videos, you know I love Primary Deadhead. If there's a reason for, if there's any way I can use Primary Deadhead, I'm going to use Primary Deadhead. But because this weapon needs reload speed, like reload speed is kind of like the thing that you want on this weapon, Primary Merciless is going to win out. Because it's still a 360% flat damage increase, just like Deadhead has, but it's 30% reload speed as well. So Primary Merciless easily beats Deadhead in this case. All right, and that's the Tigris Prime build here. So because I don't mix this with any kind of externals, I'm going to show this on a big, dumb Anaros with no Archon shards that increase weapon performance, no mods or arcanes on the Anaros that increase weapon performance, and with a pet with no Sentinel weapon and no mods on the pet that increase weapon performance. Alrighty, let me stop running my mouth. We'll get into a Steel Path Mott. Check this bad boy out. Oh, not Dojo. Void. Oh, there we go. Now, this weapon has the unfortunate thing. It's like the Corinth, when I did the Corinth video. Very, very powerful weapon. Almost everything you hit is going to die in one shot. But it does not have the best kill per minute potential. It's very slow. So it's powerful. It's going to kill what you're shooting at, but you're not going to have the highest kill per minute numbers. So, okay. So in this, I'm only going to be pressing my 3 once in a while. My 3 only gives me armor and status immunity, and that's the only ability I'll be using.
They have just shut down all systems. I'm sending life support capsules your way.
Oh, another thing too with the, and I think this is most shotguns, if you aim in, it tightens your spread. So if you want your spread to be tighter, you can aim in. That's like useful on Xmas enemies. On Trash, I think sometimes it's actually more useful to like not aim in so that you have wider shots to hit multiple enemies. Because there's a lot of overkill damage on this weapon. Like you're going to be overkilling Trash a lot. So I think it's good to sometimes have a wider spread to hit multiple dudes. Let me show off the click thing. So if I click and hold, I can release there. So you can do click, release. Click, release. And that'll let you maximize your 2 shots. Although I feel like you kind of like purposely will go slow because of that, and so sometimes I don't do that. I just kind of spam this. But it's an option. If you want to like try to maximize your 2 shots, you can do the click and release thing. Just remember, the first shot is when you click, and the second shot is when you release. And of course, because this is not a critical build, it's mostly going to be a white non-crit build. It's only a 10% chance to produce yellow criticals. You know, there are ways, though. There are ways to increase base crit by large amounts. And you can make a pure status weapon into a hybrid. And that would be things like Adarza Kavat. The pet Adarza Kavat has a buff that... I forgot if it's not 100% uptime. I want to say it's either a 50% uptime or 1/3 uptime. It's one of those. But whenever it's up, you get, I believe it's 60 crit chance. That's just plopped on top of your crit chance. So it's not like most mods. It's like it would be like 60% of your base, so like 60% of your shitty base of 10%. So it would only be like 16%. But a Adarza Kavat is 60 plopped on top of yours, so it would be 70, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it would be 70, I believe, with Adarza. And there's other things, too. I think Harrow has an ability that gives you a crit chance that just gets plopped on top of yours, and it doesn't work like it normally does in mods. And there's a few other things. There's a few other things that I'm probably missing that gives you, like, crit chance that just gets plopped on top. I'm going to trademark that. Plopped crit. So you see, everything I'm shooting is dying in one hit, basically. It's just that it's a, you know, it's a slower weapon. This would be a good candidate to get an Incarnate, I think. It's a good weapon, it's just, it's being overshadowed by a lot of the stuff in the game. I think this weapon used to be very popular. If someone... I've really only been hardcore getting back into Warframe for the past, like, 4 years. But if someone has been playing for a longer time, I think there was a time where the Tigris was, like, nuts. You have people that are like, back in my day, the Tigris. So, I mean, I've heard that before. I've heard the Tigris was nuts at one point. Does pretty good against the Acolyte, too. Anything that does high alpha does really good against the Acolyte. So you can see it's kind of chunking him here. And I'm losing Merciless stack, so it probably could even have done more. For a ranged weapon, that's pretty good. You can't really compare ranged weapons to melee. Melee, you could have the weakest melee weapon in the game, and it's going to poop on, like, every ranged weapon for Acolyte killing. Acolyte killing, like, melee is king. But comparing this to other ranged weapons, it's a pretty decent Acolyte killer. As you see, we're having a little bit of life support issues. And it's because we're not killing quick enough. We're not killing quick enough. And, you know, it's, again, it goes back to, like, the Corinth video as well. It's like, they're powerful weapons, but they are very slow to kill. And so, you know, they're not going to beat other weapons in, like, kill per minute counts. Like, you saw the numbers for my testing. Now, granted, that was Kuva Survival, so it'll be a little bit different than this one. But, like, on Kuva Survival, it was on 5-minute runs. Like, a lot of the runs were, like, 175 kills, which is not a lot. Yeah, we got about 3 minutes left here. Try to get these kill numbers up. I don't think it's going to be any impressive number, but we'll hey, we'll make it work. You know, we're trying to go through all the weapons in the game that are Steel Path viable, and this is one of them. Even though it's a weaker weapon, it's still Steel Path viable. We gotta, you know, we have to add some turds in with the diamonds. You know what I'm saying? And just like the Corinth, like, I feel bad calling this weapon a turd, because, like, the Corinth and this weapon are both really good. It's just that their kill per minute counts suffer because of their slowness. You know, Harrow, not only does he give flat crit, I'm pretty sure, but he gives more reload speed as well. This could be really good on Harrow. I play Harrow a lot. I've never really used this on Harrow, but now thinking about it, like, this could be pretty decent on Harrow. I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of trying to cope for the weapon. This weapon may be as good on this one particular Warframe because he does this one particular thing. This is a good little kill area right here. Come on, Tigris. We got to get our kill numbers up here. If you have a heavy enemy in front of you, just make sure you aim in. That way you tighten your pellets and you can, like, definitely one-shot them. Heavy gunners, Eximuses, things like that. It does pretty good in hip fire, too, though. So, you don't have to, but... I'm going to have to hit one more life support before we leave.
Extraction is ready.
I know extraction is ready, but we're still going. Lotus, we still got 1 minute and 20 seconds to try to get this guy's kill counts up. It's got to do decent on the tier list. I don't want this to be near the Stug. It's got to do a little bit better than the Stug. You know, I haven't tested the Stug on the new format that we're doing in Mott. Maybe I need to do another Stug video on Mott. Since we've kind of changed the format to Mott now. Yeah, if you know any other ways to increase like base crit, not percentage wise, but like just plopped crit, you know, like trademark plopped crit, let me know. Because I'm probably missing something there. I know a Darzakavat, Harrow. Oh, the Arcane. There's an Arcane. Oh my goodness, I almost killed myself. Malice is up. He mag bubbled me and I shot. Oh, he did kill me. Oh my goodness. Salt, you big dummy. You big dummy. This is not going to help the kill count, Salt. That is not going to help the kill counts. Alright. 10 minutes in, 332 kills. That's not great. Not great. Let's see if anyone died from slash procs that we had. No, it's still 332. That'll be the final kill count. Malice came out, mag bubbled me. I didn't realize it at first. I did a shot. I took friggin' like 8,000 HP out of myself. And I think I might have slashed myself or something because I died like right after that.
Extraction is your best option.
Yeah, Malice is dangerous. Malice is dangerous. I should know better. I just sometimes I talk too much and I don't realize what's coming out. I was too busy running my mouth instead of paying attention to which acolyte spawned. So, all right. What was that again? 332. Yeah, that's the Tigris Prime right there. If you want to build a Tigris Sancti instead, that's okay. It would be built the exact same way. And again, thanks American Samurai for the suggestion. It's a pretty cool weapon. Even though, you know, it's interesting. It's a powerful weapon, but it's powerful per shot, not like your kill numbers. So I think it's still worth building out because of that. Just know that you're not going to get the most kill per minute with it. So if you guys like the video, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subbed yet, consider subbing or tell me what I can do to earn your sub. And I hope you guys have a great day. All right, bye.